Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first AI Godfather, Yann LeCun's exit from Meta, signals a major schism over its open source AI strategy. We'll analyze why his departure is a turning point and how it affects Meta's competition with Google. Second, Baidu's $37,000 Robotaxi achieves profitability, scaling a Wuhan model to challenge US rivals. We'll explore how this profitability-first strategy could transform the global race for autonomous commercialization. Third, a $900 million Saudi deal funds Luma AI's 2-gigawatt supercluster, creating a new rival to Silicon Valley. We'll break down this compute for equity deal and what it signals for the global AI arms race. Fourth, nearly 50% of novelists believe AI could replace them as generative AI decimates their income. So we'll discuss what this creative crisis means for the legal battles over AI training and copyright. Fifth, Australia's social media ban forces Meta to cut 500,000 teen accounts via biometric age checks. We'll examine how this hardline ban impacts the global tech regulation debate and online privacy. The most unexpected news in the tech world today has to be this. One of the godfathers of modern AI is walking out on Meta. Yann LeCun, the company's chief AI scientist and a visionary who joined back when it was just Facebook, is leaving. Actually, LeCun is part of a trio, along with Geoffrey Hinton and Yoshua Bengio, known as the godfathers of AI. We're seeing a major schism unfold. Hinton left Google to warn about AI's dangers, and Bengio is a vocal advocate for strict safety regulations. LeCun's departure from Meta is the latest chapter in this story, where the original architects of AI are growing increasingly concerned about the direction these powerful technologies are taking inside the very companies they helped build. His departure pulls back the curtain on major turmoil inside one of the world's biggest tech giants. This all comes at a time of disarray within Meta's AI division. The company's latest AI model, Llama 4, was met with a disappointing response from developers. That reportedly spurred Mark Zuckerberg to spend billions recruiting top AI talent. The most stunning move? A $14.5 billion investment in Scale AI, a deal that installed its 28-year-old CEO, Alexander Wang, as Meta's new chief AI officer. The situation presents a fascinating duality. On one side, you have the 65-year-old Turing Award-winning LeCun, a seasoned academic researcher. On the other, it exposes a culture clash with Wang, a 28-year-old startup CEO known for a relentless meritocracy, excellence, and intelligence philosophy. His leadership style is all about high standards, rapid execution, and a hands-on, high-urgency approach. While that's great for a startup, it can be a massive shock to the system in an established long-term research division. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. According to people familiar with the matter, this new leadership and a series of strategic shifts played a major role in LeCun's decision to leave. Meta recently laid off 600 employees from one of its AI labs, with some cuts hitting the very research unit LeCun helped create. This reveals the core conflict, a battle for the soul of Meta's AI. The 65-year-old LeCun has always championed open source AI, sharing research publicly, but the new team, led by the 28-year-old Wang, reportedly favors a more closed approach to compete with rivals like OpenAI and Google. Insiders say LeCun rarely even interacted with the new AI chief. Meta's open source model Llama was a game changer. It allowed researchers, smaller companies, and developers everywhere to build on top of a powerful AI, democratizing the technology. A shift to a closed, proprietary model could slam that door shut, concentrating power back into the hands of a few tech giants and potentially slowing down the pace of innovation across the entire industry. Now, LeCun is launching his own startup to build the next generation of AI that can understand the physical world. So the thing is, LeCun is betting on something called world models. The AI we use today, like ChatGPT, are large language models or LLMs. They are brilliant at recognizing patterns in text, but don't truly understand cause and effect. A world model, by contrast, builds an internal simulation of the world. It learns to predict what will happen next. Like a human understands that if you push a glass off a table, it will fall and break. This is the key to building AI that can reason and interact with the physical world for things like robotics and autonomous systems. And in the final plot twist, Meta announced it will be a partner in his new venture. This might be a new playbook for corporate R&D. Instead of getting bogged down in bureaucracy, a big company like Meta can let a brilliant mind like LeCun pursue a high-risk, long-term idea on the outside. It's a way to gracefully manage the exit of a top executive while still getting access to his groundbreaking work. This is similar to how Google operates DeepMind as a semi-independent entity, hedging its bets on the future of AI. This isn't just a resignation, it's a high-stakes schism over the future of artificial intelligence, with one of Meta's founding minds now building his vision from the outside, backed by the very company he just left. Speaking of competition between giants, another major player has been having a tough time lately. Actually, scratch that. A top executive at Chinese tech giant Baidu just went on the record with a statement that changes everything in the race for driverless cars. His claim, once we can generate profit for every single car in a second-tier city, we can generate profits in lots of cities across the world. Now, get this focus on a second-tier city is revolutionary. What you're hearing about is what experts are calling the Wuhan model, and it's a direct challenge to the strategy we've seen in the US. While American companies like Waymo started in the most complex, high-cost cities like San Francisco, Baidu is aiming for profitability in a place with lower operational costs and simpler traffic. The bet is that this model is far easier and cheaper to scale globally. This isn't just a bold prediction. While US rivals like Waymo and Tesla capture headlines, Chinese firms are expanding globally at a faster clip and claim they are on the verge of making Robotaxi a viable business, not just a cash-burning experiment. The core conflict is no longer just about technology, but about speed and strategy. In the last 18 months, Chinese companies Baidu, WeRide and Pony.ai have landed partnerships with Uber, putting their driverless cars on the ground in the Middle East. Interestingly enough, the Middle East has become a strategic battleground because countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia are rolling out the red carpet with favourable regulations and massive investment. In fact, a PwC survey shows 86% of Chinese companies plan to expand there. This is a classic case of regulatory arbitrage. While US firms navigate a complex patchwork of state-level rules, Chinese companies are using the centralised, top-down systems in China and the UAE to get permits and scale up at lightning speed. And here's their playbook: scale and cost. Baidu says it has already achieved per-vehicle profitability in the city of Wuhan, where it operates a fleet of over 1,000 vehicles. It's doing this with fares 30% cheaper than in major cities, partly because it produces its own Robotaxi vehicles that are 50% cheaper to build. By building its own cars, a strategy called vertical integration, Baidu slashed the cost of its newest Robotaxi, the Apollo RT6, to just around $37,000. When we place this alongside rivals who partner with big automakers, the contradiction becomes clear. Those partnerships often face much higher costs and have less control over the vehicle design. Owning the hardware might just be the secret weapon to making the math work for profitability. Scale is the new dividing line. An executive stated that deploying just 100 or 200 cars in a city will never be profitable. You need massive fleets, and the numbers show their ambition. WeRide aims to operate a fleet of 1,000 Robotaxis in the Middle East by the end of next year alone. Even former skeptics are changing their tune, with multiple CEOs now declaring the industry has reached a tipping point. The market is projected to be worth over $25 billion by 2030. Believe it or not, there are real metrics that suggest something big is happening. We're talking about things like disengagement rates. That's how often a human safety driver has to take over. And we're seeing incredible progress with some companies reporting zero disengagements over hundreds of thousands of miles. When those numbers get close to zero and the cost per mile drops below a regular taxi, that's when you know the revolution is real, not just a press release. But the most telling fact comes from HSBC, which predicts the number of robotaxis on China's roads could multiply from a few thousand to tens of thousands by 2026, a shift that would give these operators overwhelming proof that their model works. We were just talking about Chinese companies scaling globally. Now, let's shift our focus to how sovereign wealth is reshaping the AI landscape entirely. A video AI startup just raised a jaw-dropping $900 million in a single funding round. And the source of the money is the bombshell. It's being led by Humain, an artificial intelligence company owned by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. This isn't just a simple investment. It's a strategic model that experts are calling compute for equity. Unlike the US, which focuses on domestic R&D, or China, which uses state-led initiatives, Saudi Arabia is using its immense financial resources to buy its way into the top tier of AI. They provide the cash, and in return, they get the technology, the infrastructure, and the expertise built inside their own borders. It's a bold shortcut to becoming an AI superpower. The deal catapults Luma AI to a valuation of over $4 billion. Luma's CEO is already throwing punches, claiming their latest video model benchmarks higher than OpenAI's Sora 2 and on par with Google's Veo 3. This is a direct challenge to the titans of the industry. When they talk about these world models, they're not just talking about creating pretty videos. A true world model aims to build an internal understanding of the physical world, things like object permanence, basic physics, and cause and effect. It's a huge step beyond just generating images. OpenAI's Sora uses a transformer architecture, similar to what powers ChatGPT, to understand language and create video narratives. Luma, on the other hand, is reportedly using technology related to 3D reconstruction to create a better sense of realistic motion and depth. This is an arms race for who can simulate reality best, but that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is the partnership's plan to build an absolute behemoth called Project Halo in Saudi Arabia. We're talking about a 2 gigawatt AI supercluster. To put that in perspective, that's double the size of Meta's planned supercluster, and it will be one of the largest deployments of GPUs in the world. Access to this kind of computing power is becoming the single biggest barrier to entry in AI. Forget just having a clever algorithm. The cost to train a top-tier model like GPT-4 is already in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and those costs have been growing at about 2.4 times per year. One recent survey found that 85% of AI professionals have had their projects delayed simply because they can't get their hands on enough GPUs. So by building Project Halo, this partnership is creating a strategic moat that will be almost impossible for smaller startups to cross. This all points to a much bigger endgame than just generating videos. This is about power. The collaboration is explicitly designed to create sovereign AI models trained on Arabic and regional data, aiming to build the world's first Arabic video model. It's a strategic move to reduce reliance on Western-trained models and ensure cultural representation. Luma's CEO stated, "It's really important that we bring these cultures, their identities, their representation to our model. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. While that sounds great, it opens a huge can of worms. Creating a representative dataset for a region as culturally and linguistically diverse as the Middle East is an immense technical and ethical challenge. Research shows that current AI models are overwhelmingly trained on Western data, leading them to misrepresent or misinterpret other cultures. But the big question is, who becomes the arbiter of authentic Arabic culture in this new model?" That reminds me of another more cynical angle. Some of these AI companies, including Luma, have faced accusations of IP infringement for training their models on copyrighted content scraped from the internet without permission. By creating a brand new model from scratch using sovereign, presumably licensed Arabic data, this Humain Create initiative could be a brilliant strategic move to build a legally clean foundation, free from the copyright lawsuits that are plaguing their competitors. This isn't just an investment, it's a declaration. As Humain's CEO put it, this partnership sets a new benchmark for how capital, compute, and capability come together. From global AI infrastructure battles, we now turn to the human cost of this technological revolution. A bombshell report from the University of Cambridge reveals that nearly half of all novelists believe artificial intelligence could entirely replace them. This is not a distant fear, it is an immediate crisis for creators. The report found that a jaw-dropping 97% of authors are extremely negative about the idea of AI writing complete novels. The financial damage is already being felt, with 40% saying their income has already taken a hit because of AI. For most novelists, writing novels doesn't actually pay all the bills. They rely on what's called a writer's portfolio freelance gigs, like copywriting, editing, and content creation. AI is decimating that secondary income. A recent study found that the introduction of generative AI is hitting even the most successful freelancers the hardest. In fact, for every 1% increase in a freelancer's past earnings, they are now seeing a 1.7% drop in their monthly income. That financial cushion is disappearing, making it almost impossible for many to afford the time to write long-form fiction. What really brought this to a head was the next development. A staggering 60% of novelists surveyed said their work has been used to train massive AI models without their permission and without a single dollar in payment. Some are even discovering books being sold online that falsely claim to be written by them. Now, get this. This isn't just a theory. It's happening right now. Author Jane Friedman, for example, discovered multiple low-quality AI-generated books being sold on Amazon under her name. She never wrote them. These scam books are flooding platforms like Kindle Direct Publishing because it's so easy to generate and upload them. Amazon says it requires disclosure of AI content, but the system is clearly struggling to keep up, damaging authors' reputations and tricking readers. This isn't just a business dispute, it's being framed as an existential threat. Professor Gina Neff, executive director of the centre that published the report, declared that our creative industries are not expendable collateral damage in the race to develop AI. They are national treasures worth defending. This decision brings both challenges and comes with inherent risks. In the US, tech companies often argue fair use allows them to train AI on copyrighted data. But in the European Union, the law is much stricter, often requiring explicit consent from creators. This creates a massive legal battleground over whose rules will define the future of AI. And if you think these authors are simply anti-technology, you're wrong. The same report shows 4 in every 5 of them agree that AI offers benefits to society. Their fight isn't against progress. It's a direct challenge to a system using their life's work without consent. Current AI, or large language models, are incredibly good at recognizing patterns and predicting the next word in a sentence. But they don't truly understand context, irony, or subtext. They struggle to maintain a unique authorial voice or keep track of complex plot lines over hundreds of pages. Creating a news summary is one thing. Crafting a novel with genuine emotional depth is a fundamentally harder problem that, for now, remains a uniquely human skill. This has drawn a clear battle line. The call from writers is for fair use, for payment, and for protection against what they see as the systematic devaluation of human creativity. This is a fight not just over copyright, but over whether a human-written novel has a future at all. Speaking of which, there's a broader, more subtle threat. The constant flood of easily generated short-form content is changing how we read. Research shows that our average attention span on a single piece of online content has plummeted from over 12 seconds to just over 8. The big question is whether this will kill the market's appetite for complex, challenging, long-form literature, making it economically impossible to publish the very kinds of books that shape our culture. From the creative industries under siege, we move to another battleground where tech giants face unprecedented government intervention. 500,000 Australian teenagers are about to get kicked off Instagram and Facebook. Starting December 4th, Meta is deactivating the accounts of everyone it believes is between 13 and 15 years old on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. This isn't a choice. It's a direct response to a new world-leading ban from the Australian government targeting anyone under 16 on social media. Australia is taking a path that almost no one else has. We're seeing Australia doing X while at the same time other major jurisdictions are taking a completely different path. The European Union's Digital Services Act focuses more on risk mitigation, forcing platforms to moderate content and verify age, but not imposing an outright ban. In the United States, states like Ohio have tried to require parental consent for minors, but those laws have been struck down by courts as unconstitutional. So Australia's hardline ban is a massive global experiment. And it's not just Meta. The ban, which goes into full effect on December 10th, hits a huge list of platforms, including TikTok, YouTube, and X. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the goal is simple: letting kids be kids. But here's where the real power play is revealed. Social media companies that fail to take reasonable steps to block underage users face staggering fines of up to 50 million Australian dollars. That's the number forcing companies like Meta to comply, even though they publicly oppose the law. The big question is whether a ban like this will actually work as intended. Research on internet behaviour suggests that when access to a popular platform is restricted, users, especially tech-savvy teens, don't just log off. They migrate. We could see a massive shift toward less moderated, harder to track platforms like Discord and Telegram. On top of that, the use of VPNs, or virtual private networks, could skyrocket, allowing teens to simply bypass the restrictions entirely, potentially exposing them to even greater risks without any oversight. Meta is already warning that the ban might not be foolproof. In a statement, The company said, teens are resourceful and may attempt to circumvent age assurance measures. For any teens who want to challenge the shutdown, Meta is offering a strange solution. Prove you're old enough by taking a video selfie to be used in facial age scans. So, how does a video selfie even work, and can you trust it? Meta is partnering with a company called Yoti, whose technology analyzes facial features to estimate a person's age. And the tech is surprisingly accurate. For the critical 13 to 17-year-old age group, it has a 99.3% success rate at correctly identifying someone as being under 21. But this raises huge questions. We're talking about mandating millions of teenagers to submit their biometric data. While the company says the data is deleted after the age check, it opens up a massive debate about privacy, data security, and whether these systems have biases against certain genders or skin tones. This isn't just about protecting kids. It's a high-stakes showdown between a national government and global tech giants. The Australian government has drawn a line in the sand, and with a $50 million penalty on the table, it's forcing the world's biggest social media companies to completely erase a massive user base from their platforms.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.